What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I am here in an empty garage, and that is because the G8 is gone. As you guys just saw, the garage is empty. We've got the Camaro here, and that's right, the G8 is gone, ladies and gentlemen. It's going on to a much better place, I guess. Yeah, didn't ever think I was gonna make this video getting rid of the G8, but it was time. Had a great life with the G8, owned it since brand new for, jeez, what would it be, 10 years now. I got it back in 2009, so it's a bittersweet, sad to see it go away, but gotta move on, guys. Gotta move on to much greater, better things, and in my case, that is this Camaro. Now, if there's one thing I've learned, is you don't want to hold on to things too long. I mean, there's definitely things that you want to keep forever, but does it make sense? Usually doesn't. In my case, I would have loved to always kept this G8, but it did not make sense for me. And so you gotta learn to move on, guys. Gotta learn to move on and learn to go into much bigger and better things. And for me, it was that time. So look, it's gone, it's going, and that just means that we get to start working on this thing. As you guys have seen in some of my videos, when I do these quick time lapses, I do have this low profile Harbor Freight jack, 3-ton jack, and I had an older Craftsman jack that wasn't low profile. Well, these are great and all, but when you really want to work on your car and everything extended under the garage, what you want to do is you want to use something like these jack stands. And trying to set jack stands up with the jacks and everything under a car is just plain very time consuming and difficult. So I came across a portable lift that a lot of people seem to be using, and that is going to be really helpful and make it quick to lift and drop your car. They were a little pricey, so I was hesitant on buying them or not, but let me just show you guys what I'm talking about. There it is, guys. This is the quick jack system, and if you guys have seen it or on videos, a lot of people use these, and it makes working on cars, especially in my low level ceiling garage, much easier. And these are the 7000 EXT, so they're basically the biggest quick jacks you can get. This is gonna help me get everything that I need installed on the Camaro, swap out wheels and put in the drag pack, do things like that. I'm gonna go ahead and open all this up, show you what actually comes in it. Now, even though this kit pretty much is complete, you are going to have to buy your hydraulic fluid. In my case, I went ahead and bought automatic transmission fluid, and I just bought this full synthetic Dextron, and I don't think it's very important what kind of transmission fluid you get. You can probably buy the cheapest one, it'll work just fine, but I went ahead and got the full synthetic, and you are going to use about 2.5 quarts, a little bit, 2 to 2.5, so you do want to buy 3 of these bottles. Alright guys, so in these big boxes, what you're getting is your full length frame quick jack and this pull handle, which I believe just hooks here and lets you pull this out if you have it under the car or something like that. Alright guys, so this is what was in the third box. So you've got your power unit, your hydraulic power unit, and I ended up getting the 110 volt plug unit. It comes with the plug and your up and down buttons. You got 2 short hoses and then 2 long ones, and you've got your assortment of rubber blocks, 4 of the tall ones and then 4 of the short ones or medium ones, and that is going to depend on how tall or short your vehicle is. That's what you'll be using. And then of course you've got all your fittings, your elbows, rubber feet for this, the extra wheels, and the Teflon tape that you're going to use on some of these fittings. Alright, so first step that this thing is saying to do is to set up this, which means we've got to put in new fittings here. And what we're going to be putting in there is actually this quick connect fitting. These have an O-ring, so they do not need any Teflon tape. So these are just going to get screwed in and you tighten them up. Alright, so these are in. One bit of a tip is screw the bottom one in first so that this top one isn't in the way when you're trying to tighten it in, and it should make it very easy. And then just put your dust caps back on. Alright, so I went ahead and already put 1 full quart, and then I actually still have just a tiny bit, so it went almost 2 quarts, but the manual calls for this to be 1/2 inch below the fill port. Now granted, this is just a thing. Once it goes through the lines and into the thing, it's going to drop down a little bit lower. So after we set everything else up and test it, go raise it up and down, bleed the system, I'm going to make sure that to top this off with about another 1/2 quart. Alright guys, so the next step after we've already set our power unit up is we got to put some elbow fittings, which are these elbow fittings. They're going to go on this main hydraulic piston, and so they go in here. You're going to do the O-ring in there, and then the threaded side we're going to put some Teflon tape, wrap it around in the same direction that you're going to be going, and this is where the shorter hoses are going to be going to. Alright guys, so we've got this one installed, and you want it to be slightly angled up, and so we're going to do the same thing on this side. One thing that I do recommend is putting the Teflon tape on the non-O-ring side before you screw it in. It'll make it a lot easier. Once we finish those two, now we can move on to these short fittings, and these have a female end and a male end. The female end is going to screw right into that nipple on the piston, and the male end we're going to screw in a male quick connect fitting. So that's going to go in here, and so what we're going to use is we're going to have to do Teflon around here as well, and then screw this in, and obviously that gets screwed in directly to there. Alright, so now we've gone ahead and tightened up this with the thread sealant, this one with its own, and it's all wired up here. Ultimately you're probably going to end up running these through the bottom here. Let's put this cap down something like this through the bottom of the frame, out off the side like this, and that's how is probably going to be the best way. And that basically takes care of this. Now we're going to go ahead and prepare our long hoses, which are going to require both all these same or female adapters on both ends, and that is going to be the ones that plug into the power unit and to our short hoses. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing, put the thread sealant tape all around, tighten them up, and that is pretty much the setup. Alright guys, so I've got the long hoses already set up, so now the hoses are ready and we can move on to the next step. Alright guys, so we finally got the right tool. We've got the compressor here. So where we left off, another day is we've got to air up these pistons here to 50 psi. So we're going to do that on both. Cylinders are pressurized, all the fittings are done. I've gone ahead and connected everything up. We've got the unit on power. Now we need to test this thing, and what we're going to do is, because there's no load, you've got to just raise it up halfway, or basically to the first bump stop, bring it back down, and then we're going to actually go in and purge this slightly a little bit more. Alright guys, we're ready for the very first lift on this thing. So we go ahead and press the up button, and it should take a little bit to start going up. So the fluid is getting pumped through. Make sure there's nothing going on here. Okay, we're starting to see. There we go. There we go. Took a little bit for the fluid to come out from here and go in, and we're gonna go to the very first locking position. So we're gonna kind of do that, cycle it a couple times, make sure this is down, I might have to loosen this just a little bit because it doesn't seem to be kind of wanting to loose up. So that's locked. Let's make sure that this is locked. So now when we bring it down, it should lock in place. And there we go. So bring it down, and that's it. It's now on this support, not on the hydraulics, and this is a halfway point. So now what we got to do is come in here and actually bring these upright. So we're gonna get these, lift them upright so that all the air in this piston here can kind of come out, and then we'll go ahead and bleed it from here. All right guys, they are set up, and not gonna lie, it did take a bunch of tries of raising and lowering it, again only to the first stop, and I actually had to raise these up right and check and purge these main canisters about 2 or 3 times, and I kept doing it. I would raise them up, lock them, purge it, and then drop them back down, raise them up, lock them, purge them until no more air came out of these cylinders. And I also made sure that I topped this off, because when I first filled this up, there was only 2 quarts that were able to fit into this thing. But once you fill all the lines up and everything, then you obviously get more capacity here. So we did top off about another half a quart, which is what they recommend. And now we're good to go. So check this up. We're gonna raise them up, and then we just lift up this leg on this side, and you see this lock here. You just lift it up and it comes right back down, and now we can just raise them down, and they both go down pretty much at the same time. They don't have any load, so it's not going to be exactly the same time, but they are pretty close. So when you first test these out and raise them and lower them, they're definitely a little uneven, but as soon as you make sure you purge all the air out completely, then they become a lot smoother operation. Can't wait to use these guys. I can't wait to use these. Whew. Alright guys, well, the setup is completely done. I've gone ahead and disconnected everything. The hoses are really easy to disconnect, and now we just gotta wait for a time to use them, which will probably come very soon, because I've got a bunch of parts. If you see that box over there, that box has some really nice stuff that's going to be coming in future videos. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and make sure you stay up to date with my videos, because I'm finally moving forward with the Camaro build, doing all kinds of stuff, and you're not going to want to miss out. So make sure you subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you like this video. And whenever I do use these, I'll make sure to let you guys know if they're worth it or not. And if you guys want one, you know where to get one. Quick Jacks, really great, and are going to make all my future projects much easier. I'll see you guys in the next one.